Hydrate. Hello, my name is Kevin. I am the Dapper Man. That is Dapperman. For some reason, if I spell it out, the captioning works itself out. If I don't, then it spells Diaper Man. I just want to thank you. I know, odd. I just really want to thank you for taking your time to be watching this video because your time is very valuable, and I greatly appreciate it that you are taking your time to watch this video. And I would like to invite you, and if you could, I greatly appreciate it if you can hit the subscribe button, which is right down there, and I got it right this time. Yes! And if you wish to hit the like button, it's right down there. If you hit unlike, at least put me down in the comments below why you do not like this video. And if you do like the video, put down in the comments below why do you like this video, and let me know your thoughts on the movie, because that's the whole point of this channel that I've created, because I want to interact with other fellow movie lovers such as yourself. So without further ado, here is my movie review for today. Now, growing up with films, I could say one of my most favorite films I could always watch again and again is Godzilla and Universal monster films. Following the Universal monster films and Godzilla is I've watched loads of science fiction films and classic horror films. These are films from 1970 on down, preferably 1965 on down to even the 20s and 30s. But there is one film that kind of sticks out. Yeah, it sort of sticks out, and it's a cult classic film. And it's a film that I got from a previous shipment, and I rewatched it. It's a very different film. I mean, I can't say it's too different, because this is basically like if you watch one of those films, it is the drive-in theater. Whenever you think of drive-in theaters, especially in the 50s, with that car hop and the 50s music playing and stuff, you know what I'm talking about. This is that movie, and that movie is called The World Without End. Now, World Without End was directed by Edward Burns. If you don't know who Edward Burns is, he has directed many B movies. One of them was Reformed Schoolgirl, and the Vincent Price sequel, The Return of the Fly. It's actually not really the best Fly movie made. It's very cheesy, very corny, along with this movie, I could say. And he did loads of Three Stooges movies and television shows and cartoons. He was really big into Three Stooges. He always had a project doing those films. And there was one other film he did, and that movie is called Queen from Outer Space, which many people will realize, and they'll see it because it was probably his crowning jewel. And it's quite amazing because that movie had a lot of similarities and used the same clips from this movie, which was made in 1956. So a couple years later, he made that movie, and he followed it down to the blueprint, and he just remade it. This was a very common theme for directors, because you didn't rent movies. You went to the theaters, and sometimes if you missed it the first time, you'll do it back over again, such as what Howard Hawks did with his westerns. One more cool fact about this movie, I will say, is that this movie was double billed with Lon Chaney movie called Indestructible Man. Now, I can tell you about the Indestructible Man. This review is not about that movie, but if you had to pick between the two, I would say this one, because Indestructible Man was very much of a disappointment after me watching the Wolfman movies and then watching him play that movie. My mind as a child was going like, what's this? This looks awful. And it truly was. So when making B films, the highest length of time would probably be at max 85 minutes. This movie gets to the 80-minute mark, so it's like the just right timing for it. An interesting thing about this movie, I would say, is that it was filmed in CINEMASCOPE, which is quite unusual, because whenever you get a B movie, you just get a full frame, black and white or color, pick or choose, depending on your budget. Somehow, I don't know how he did it, I couldn't find any information of how he convinced the Warner Brothers Studios to do this in CINEMASCOPE, which CINEMASCOPE was fairly new, so with it being fairly new, it was also fairly expensive. How he put it, I don't know. Maybe it's because people loved his previous films, but he was not very well known as a director, so I don't know what else to go from there. Now, this movie does have quite of a list of actors and actresses that are very well known for then, and it would probably be very well known for today. You got Hugh Marlowe, who played in other science fiction films. I cannot remember. Earth versus the Flying Saucers. That's what's the movie I was trying to think of. You have Rod Taylor, who was an Australian actor, very new into American films, and you can hear that bit of an accent. And before he went full-blown American, and one of the most best movies ever made, the H.G. Wells Time Machine. Highly recommend that. Has Nancy Gates and a bunch of others. This movie promoted one thing, and that was the sexuality of a woman. If there was one thing you get from this movie, and that is that, and it was the pin-up dresses and the artist style of the women, and it was being as explicit as it can for its time frame, because we did have the Hays Code and we did have the Board of Decency, so there was a lot that was doing to push the limit as best as possible. And even the advertisements are quite questionable. Yes, they were very questionable. The artist was a Peruvian painter. His name was Alberto Vargas. So if you're wondering if that style looks very familiar, that is the reason why. He was very provocative, and he was very, I would say, okay, yeah, it surpassed borderline. These women were nude, and they would just wear a silk thing or whatever. I'm not going to be posting those pictures, but you get the idea of exactly what I'm talking about. So just to get to the story, the astronauts leave in 1957. They travel forward and future. The year is now 2508 when they come back, and you've got the most silliest things that you could ever see when they land on Earth. The spaceship, everything defies science, and it's not meant to be as accurate to science as possible. It was just meant to be a junk film. So you get huge rubber spires that are probably like 6 feet long. You've got women that not one of them has to look any form of ugly. Everything has to be perfect. You got the caveman, which has like clay slapped to their face, and they just make up over it very horribly. It has it all. It even has the guns where people shoot guns, very weird, which I've never seen people shoot guns unless you're watching an older Western or an older science fiction, which, if you're going to space, why on earth do you need a revolver? It's silly, it's ridiculous, it's redundant. It plays the violence music as it swells through a romantic scene, which the romantic scenes could be considered quite uncomfortable for today, but they are rather very extremely silly. If you feel like you're going to be watching this movie to get something that's going to be mind-blowing or something that's awesome, the only thing that might blow your mind is the stupidity and the silliness of this film. It is very much what I consider high junk food. This is something that you would pour Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups inside your popcorn and probably just pouring that on top of your hot dog and eating it, shoving it down your throat. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. It's just pure junk. And that's what makes this movie, I think, so great and so fun to watch, because it is pure junk. You know it's junk, and you eventually just don't care because it's not a movie that you would very much care about. Now, as for this Blu-ray I've only noticed it was available through the Warner Brothers shop online. It has no special features. It doesn't even have a theatrical trailer. It has nowhere for scenes. Has nowhere for anything. You just have to have your remote control, hit subtitle, and there's only one subtitle, and that is English, as you may have guessed it. So it does very much limited, and the high definition is not very high definition. It looks like they kind of went half-C on it. I don't know. I heard that word recently, and I'm just now using it, so forgive me for saying that. It looks very much like it came straight from a DVD, hit it on a Blu-ray print, and there you go, ship it, and that's what I have. I have a Blu-ray player, PS3, and a PS4, so I got to watch it. I enjoyed it. It's junk food, like I said earlier, and that's it. There was no rating during this time, so if you want to know why I would rate it, or what's inside the movie, just for your own sake, family, whatever, here's what's inside of it, and I guess it would be a PG? Yeah, it would be PG. That is my review, and I am going to be done for quite a while, because if you're watching this video, I am already traveling abroad. I am probably right now either in Alabama or I am in Louisiana, so I'm going to meet up with some friends of mine. If you're curious, if you want to check out their channel too, they're Geek Devotions. I'll post down the link below somewhere around here, and I'm going to have a lovely grand time, at least the best I can. We got hurricanes coming. I couldn't have picked a better time. So that is it. That's all I have. If you have watched this movie, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts, and if you plan on watching it, let me know afterwards, after you watch this review in the movie. And I will see you around to the next time. So it'll probably be in a couple of weeks. Apologize, but I'm traveling, and I'm not going to be really watching too many movies. Traveling. Friends, family, all that stuff. So have a lovely day. Take care. Cheers.